Greetings everyone, this is Connor from DagoraTV, and this is kind of a thank you for 2,000 subscribers and also like a quick channel update I'll just go into. But first of all, I just want to quickly mention about the mic quality that's on this video. I know it's terrible, I know it's seriously worse than what I normally have, because normally I have this outstanding Blue Yeti microphone which I was able to get thanks to the donations that I had about 5-6 months ago now, and I use that for every video. But I brought the microphone back because I'm literally I went home and now I'm back at university for about 2 weeks for my exams, and I was bringing the microphone back and I forgot the lead to power it, so I'm just gonna have to do this quick video just with using the microphone from the laptop basically, and that's basically what I'm having to use for the Game of Thrones podcasts, which isn't ideal. And the reason why I was only planning to bring the mic back as well I was only meant to bring it back for the podcast is because I'm not making any videos for these 2 weeks until the 26th of May, because basically I've got exams and that's where my real focus is at this moment in time. So you can kind of see is that I'm on hiatus until May the 26th. I'm not going to be making any new videos other than the Game of Thrones podcast, and that's basically because the videos take a long time to edit. They take a lot longer than the actual podcast does. I know the recording time of the podcast is about 2 hours, and then the rendering of it and everything. But rendering, I can just put that to a side and get back to revision, get back to doing stuff relevant to my course at university. Whereas with making the videos like the typical lore video or Elder Scrolls video, I've got to script it, I've got to do the research, and then I've got to formulate my opinions in the right way, I'll formulate the lore in the right way, the script, and then I've got to say it, and it always takes at least 2 or 3 takes. I mean, it never does one take anymore. We've got to do a couple of takes of that, and then get the speech together, which takes a while, and then edit the videos in the right place, the right music, yada yada yada, you know where I'm coming from. They take a long time to make, so I'm not going to be able to really devote focus to that when I've got all these exams going on, because in this moment in time, that's the important thing, not the videos at this moment in time. But once I've finished on May the 26th, I'll go right back into making videos, and I'll be coming back straight after then. So that is really the main reason why I haven't been uploading anything this past week. That's why there hasn't been a lore video or Elder Scrolls 6 speculation or news video. And that's the reason why I haven't been answering as many comments or been on the Twitter as much as I normally have done, because I've been, studying, I've been awake focusing on my exams, and like I said, that's really the important thing right now. Okay, so the big thing that's kind of happened, well, for me anyway, on the channel in these past few days, is that I hit 2,000 subscribers, which is a big thing to hit, and I hit it really quickly. These last 1,000 subscribers have hit really in like about a tenth of the time that I got the first 1,000, and the first 1,000 took about 2 years to get, and this last one took about 3 months. So yeah, it's been kind of incredible, and how quick the channel has kind of grown from 1,000 to 2,000, and it's still kind of growing. As I actually hit 2,000 subscribers on my birthday, which was like a good birthday present, like yeah, treat. And it's made me very happy, and definitely it's telling me that people are starting to like these new style of videos that I've gone to. The kind of reboot of the channel that happened around about December has gone down well, and is improving further and further with the new and improved style to editing that I've got with the videos and things like that, and the schedule that I'm keeping up to. And yeah, I mean, it's gone down an absolute storm, and I'm definitely looking forward to making more and more videos in the future. And that's what I basically want to say. A big thanks, for all your comments, for all your likes, for actually watching the video and actually subscribing, going a step further to subscribe has been absolutely, real motivating, and been really great. And I want to thank also all the people on the various subreddits where I post my videos, and getting all the likes and everything on those. So they're getting more views, and then more people are finding the channel and things like that. And that's been going down really well. I also really want to send out a thank you to Elder Scrolls Off the Record and the guys over at Quest Gaming Network for them really kind of giving me a boost in subscribers on these Elder Scrolls 6 videos, regularly giving me shout outs on some of the videos and things like that, and it really does mean a lot, because I've watched and listened to their podcast for really since the days probably like early 2013, like mid 2013, when Elder Scrolls Online was starting to get really into the development cycle and people were talking about it a lot, and that's when I kind of started listening to it every week from there on out. And it's a big thank you over to all the guys over there that have really giving this video support and shouting it out. I really do appreciate it. And also, thanks to all the people that have actually, put comments out telling me to do more and, formulating their opinions, having debates in the comments, because, I love having the debates, and it's something that I'm kind of looking forward to getting these exams out of the way for, so I can go back into the comment sections and debating things with different people and everything like that, because it's fun, and I love having the Elder Scrolls community is one of the best gaming communities out there, and I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, the passion there is incredible, and having debates with these people about, with you guys and about different things with the Elder Scrolls series and all like that. Even little things, when it comes to like music, and big things when it comes to like engines and things like that. And so, people have so many different opinions, and it rarely gets hostile. I haven't had anyone go apeshit at me. It's always been nice and formulated, and that's what I've really enjoyed. I'm definitely looking forward to doing more of that in the future in the comments, as I do tend to reply to every single comment. This past week I've been poor because, like I said, revision, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into that. So leave as many comments as you can, and I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate your views, and all the people that have said in the comments that they've told other people about the channel and everything. It means a hell of a lot, to grow, because it's been this channel's a passion project of mine. I really do love it. It's a hobby of mine that I've wanted to keep on doing for a long time, and it's been tremendous so far. And the support just keeps improving the channel, and I really do like it. Okay, so that's the thank you for the 2,000 subscribers out of the way, and hopefully the subscribers are going to keep on coming in over the course of this year, and just keep on that number just keeps on growing up and up and up, and I really do appreciate it. And I just want to go now into like a bit of a channel update and talking about things that I think the direction that this channel is going to be going on from here on out, and talk about these like these last few months, what I've kind of made a judgment on to see where this channel's kind of going. Okay, so those who kind of really been stuck around the channel and been watching over the last few months, they would have seen that the most successful videos on my channel by far have been the Elder Scrolls 6 videos, and really throughout the time of this channel's kind of gone on, it's kind of taken steps further and further to becoming more of a Elder Scrolls centric channel. As if you've sticked around, and you can see really that the general stuff that I kind of cover is more of like the Western fantasy kind of things, like Lord of the Rings, the Elder Scrolls, Game of Thrones, things like that. But if you've looked at the Game of Thrones content, you can definitely see that it hasn't done that well. It hasn't done really great. The lore series has been, kind of underwhelming in the amount of views that it's got, and the episode reviews haven't been too great, and I was kind of expecting more, and I think I was wrong to assume so, because I've just been looking at YouTube and looking at Game of Thrones lore series, and there is so freaking many. I mean, a huge amount of lore series, and so many that are miles and miles and miles better than mine can ever be, because there's so much talent behind the people that are making them. And I was watching a few of them, and most of them are done to completion because they've covered a lot of stuff and they've got animations on it, and I was like, why are people going to be coming to mine compared to theirs? And the real reason is that there isn't really a reason. There's if you want one that goes really really in depth, like mine was planning to be, and I tried to be in those 2 lore videos, there's loads of channels out there that go really in depth. If you want it to be really artistically pleasing, then there's channels that are artistically pleasing. If you want one that's funny, there's ones that are funny. If you want ones that's serious and talks about it generally, there's those as well. There's so many different types of ones, and ones that people can find. And adding mine to the horde wasn't really doing what was good. And the reason why my Elder Scrolls 6 videos I believe are kind of successful is because if you look at the grand scheme of things right now, there's not a huge amount of people online and YouTubers and stuff talking about the Elder Scrolls 6, and I'm not saying I'm unique, there's definitely others out there, but me doing it on a regular basis, I've got a certain style to my videos, I've got certain topics that people talk about, these kind of videos are kind of floating to the top more and more so, and getting more and more views as the weeks go by, and that's kind of really the reason. Lord of the Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings lore series, the reason that was getting views and carrying on getting views was because there is other Middle Earth lore series out there. Like one that comes to mind is LOTR Tales, which is a very good channel. It's over 10,000 subscribers. Go check them out. And they do very, very good lore stuff. But I do my thing in a different style. Like I know he kind of rebooted his channel and have a voice actor in it. But I try to go in as much detail as possible, and that is definitely something that is returning because it's taken a while off. I was gonna plan it on having a break for the Game of Thrones lore series and then come back when it's done, but that's going to be coming back once I've finished the exams. That's going to go straight back into making those videos and getting them back out there. And the Game of Thrones Law series is something it's going to be cancelled, and it's going to be removed from the channel because, like I said, they're not getting the views. It's not really work that I'm completely proud of. It's like that thing I said before, it's adding to the horde, and the episode reviews, again, adding to the horde, it's something that I'm not keen on doing. Whereas with, say, the podcast, the Game of Thrones podcast, which is on the channel and has been doing reasonably well on the channel, for long-form content, because long-form content on YouTube doesn't seem to do that well. I know there's like podcasts like the Kind of Funny Games podcast that I'm trying to think of that add kind of, cut it into sections and put it up on YouTube, and you get others like the Corporational podcasts that do really well. But the reason I think that they kind of do, as well as they do, is because they're already formulated. They've already got real big personalities. Like, people go watch the Corporational podcast for Total Biscuit. People watch the Kind of Funny Games podcast for Game Over Greg Miller and things like that. And people, sorry. So, they've got personalities that people kind of go to those podcasts for. Whereas with the podcast that we have with the GnM Podcast, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute, and the Game of Thrones podcast, that's not set, We're not large personalities on YouTube, we're not large personalities on the internet, we're under, And so, when we're going on to it, people are meeting us for the first time and like listen to us for the first time, it's different. So, it's good to see that though it's kind of doing as well as, much better than I thought on YouTube and on iTunes and SoundCloud and Stitcher. The Game of Thrones podcast has been doing very well. We've got a few minor complaints about Luca's mic quality, which we'll see. I've tried to improve that as much as I can in post edit, and it's going to be improving. Well, mine's going to be downgraded for this next one, but it's been doing as I've get it as good as I can get it, and that's going to be going on for the season, and it's been really good. And it's not been kind of adding to the horde, like I said before, because we do it in a different way. We do episode breakdowns, but we're not in the way of we're strictly kind of show driven, because a lot of the podcasts now that I've seen out there have got one guy's read the books and always talks about the books to the guy who's from just exclusively watching the show. So it's kind of one guy educating another. Whereas me and Luca, we both read the books and we're talking about it from the show perspective, and show watchers are watching it and book readers are watching it, and because we're all talking about it, there's like a show first thing. I think that's the reason why it's been doing well, and because also it's kind of community driven in a way. We get a lot of feedback, a lot of questions that we talk about, and I think that's the reason we all in kind of reasons accumulated together. It's kind of different from the other Game of Thrones podcasts out there, and I think that's why it's been doing really well for us. Like on iTunes, for instance, we've had over 6,000 downloads. So on the most recent episode, so it's been doing it very well over there, and I'm very happy about that. And it's definitely going to be going on for the season, and probably for the seasons to come for Game of Thrones. But the podcast is going to be really where it lies for the stuff that I'm going to be doing with Game of Thrones related to the channel, because really at the end of the day, I think the reason that why people are going to be coming to this channel is really for the fantasy lore and fantasy stuff, like the Elder Scrolls and Lord of the Rings lore series, but also for kind of like a bit more fantasy games. I think the channel kind of leads on games a lot more with the history it's had with, SOM Weekly, and, when I talked about games the odd time in the past. So it's kind of been related more to video games than it has been to TV. So that's kind of the reason why you don't see me reviewing like comics, or you don't see me reviewing, Civil War and things, the new X-Men film that's going to be coming out next week or whatever. That's the reason why, is because I'm trying to stay within the target audience of the channel, and it seems to be not general Western fantasy, but kind of more Western fantasy relating to kind of video games. And that's kind of how the Middle Earth lore series kind of come about, because we're talking about Shadow of Mordor, which was a video game set in the Lord of the Rings in the Tolkien world, and then in relation to that we had a series dedicated to Shadow of Mordor, and then in relation to that, to teach people more about the lore to do with the game that it's set in, we had a lore series based on that. So it kind of went well, and it kind of got bedded into the channel, and people kind of come to the channel for that. But with the Elder Scrolls, I've kind of had this idea to have a lore series for the Elder Scrolls lore series, and I put it up onto the Elder Scrolls subreddit and talked to the Elder Scrolls community about it to say, would you be okay with it? Because I know there's been a couple out there, how would you like me to go about it? And they've given me some fantastic advice, say, go for it, and ideas, to kind of make it different, and I've got a good idea of how I want the series to go, and I'm definitely going to be following them up on it, and it's going to be coming out, again, it's going to be something that I'm going to be working on once exams are finished, so that's going to be happening. The Test 6 videos are going to be continuing for, as really probably until the game comes out. They're going to be happening every week. But another series I want to bring up as well, so the new series that's definitely going to be happening is, that I've announced so far, is the Elder Scrolls Lore series. That is definitely going to be happening without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm going to be bringing back the Lord of the Rings Lore series, the Middle-earth Lore series, because I've had quite a few people demanding it to kind of come back, and I'm definitely looking forward to bringing that back. And the last thing that I'm going to be announcing is, before I kind of talk a little bit about the GnM podcast, there's a series that I'm very, very excited about doing, and it's going to be the Elder Scrolls Weekly. And it's going to be a weekly podcast where me and my friend Nathan, who was on the GnM podcast with me for the early stage, and he's done volunteer work abroad, and now he's coming back in about a month. So once he gets back, once he ggets back from India, probably once Game of Thrones is finished, then we're going to be doing this podcast where it's going to be a weekly show, probably around about the 40-45 minute mark every week, where we talk about Elder Scrolls news, talk about Elder Scrolls speculation, talk about gameplay that we've had that week or experience we've had in relation, talk a little bit about lore of Elder Scrolls, take questions in, talk about the music, talk about Elder Scrolls really for 40-45 minutes a week in relation to, say, the video that I've had out that week or what news has kind of gone on. So it's just really an Elder Scrolls podcast, basically, and it's going to be something that I've always really wanted to do ever since the days of like now. Every time I listen to a Elder Scrolls Off the Record podcast, I listen to those podcasts, and I really like how they make their podcast, and I find it really entertaining. And all the other Elder Scrolls podcasts that's happened for the past that I've listened to, I've really thought about doing one because they sound a lot of fun. For the people, the hosts of them, and they're great to listen to. And I thought, we could make our own to have a stand in it. And I'd love to, eventually have, guests in from, the Elder Scrolls community, from maybe, some people around and all the channels and things like that to have on there every so often. That would be a lot of fun. And, it's going to be something that's going to be coming out on YouTube. I haven't really thought about putting it on iTunes. I've kind of thought about having it as a YouTube-centered podcast, because we have the GnM podcast on iTunes and the Game of Thrones podcast on iTunes and things like that. And so I thought this could be like one for the homebirds at the YouTube channel, because the Elder Scrolls 6 stuff does well on the YouTube side of things. And when we talk about the Elder Scrolls series on the GnM podcast, because it kind of seems like two different crowds, it's not really, we always get emails in saying like, God, you talk too much about it. So this is kind of like our response to kind of talk about it and put it onto the place where the people who are wanting to watch it are there. The people wanting to listen to an Elder Scrolls stuff aren't listening to the GnM podcast, but the people that are watching the YouTube. So hopefully that will be something that kind of does well, and is something that we're going to definitely be doing. See how it picks up in time. Maybe something that kind of grows more and more and more the longer this development cycle goes on, the closer we get to release of the Elder Scrolls 6. Okay, so this is going to be the final topic before I end the video, and God, I apologise, this mic quality. I've just listened back to a little bit of the video, and I'm terribly, terribly sorry. I regret not bringing Nolly back with me, but this and the two Game of Thrones podcast episodes is going to be the only thing with this problem, and then it's going to be back to the Blue Yeti. Will not make this mistake again, I can guarantee you. So with the GnM podcast is that you may have seen that if you are you're a regular listener to the podcast, that there's not been any new episodes, and the old episodes have been removed. This is not something on our end. This is something on Podomatic.com's end, because that's where we host the podcast, and that's where our RSS feed is. Because if you don't know how you upload podcasts, we upload them to Podomatic.com, and we have an RSS feed on there, and then we submit that RSS feed to iTunes and Stitcher Radio and things like that, and then they automatically go on there every time we update a new episode. But we have been shut down on there apparently from Podomatic.com. We've had no word whatsoever on why this has happened, and this is a podcast, we get quite a lot of downloads every episode, going around like the 7,000 to 8,000 mark. We've got over 11,000 subscribers to the podcast, and why are we not getting the support? We've had no word at all from Podomatic. I've sent multiple emails to their customer support. We've had no email back at all. We've basically been shut down, cannot get the old episodes back. We cannot publish them to anywhere other than Podomatic.com itself, cannot publish them to iTunes, cannot publish them to Stitcher. It's been cancelled on there. I had a look on iTunes today, and the only episode that was on there was the very original, the very first episode of the GnM podcast, which, I can't get my head around. It's a disgrace how this has happened. I'm kind of upset about it. So we've basically not been able to put these episodes onto Stitcher and iTunes, and it's been horrifying. It's been a nightmare experience for me and George, the other co-host, to kind of get around. So what's going to be happening is when I finish my exams and when Nathan gets back from India, because Nathan was the original host and then George come in, it's going to be us three, basically restarting the show, and we're going to get all the old subscribers from the GnM podcast originally to come over, listen, and then to the new RSS feed, because basically we're going to be doing it this time through Google Drive and WordPress. It's going to be a new way for us to do it, and so we're kind of in complete control of the podcast. We're in complete control of the RSS feed and everything, so this will not happen again. And I can strongly urge everybody, if you've got a podcast that you want to put onto iTunes or whatever, do not go with Podomatic at all. Stay well away from Podomatic.com. Don't go anywhere near them. There's so many other podcast sites out there to go and use. You can go find them and use them instead. Do not use Podomatic. So we're going to be doing it that way. So we're going to start again from episode 1. And we're going to do, and basically then we're just going to be talking about games and films like we have done for the other 25 episodes, and it's going to be episode 1 and go further and further and see how we go. And I just want to also say as well, I want you to comment, should we put this on YouTube? Should we upload this to YouTube? I don't know if we will. Should we start a new channel? Leave a comment below what you would listen to the GnM podcast on. Would you listen to it on iTunes? Would you listen to it on SoundCloud, Stitcher? Where would you listen to it? Would you listen to it on YouTube if you had the chance? But if you didn't want to listen to it, fine, leave a comment, say, I don't want to listen to your shitty podcast, whatever. Leave that comment, go ahead. But at the same time, I'm definitely seeing if we could put it to YouTube, because, of how I think, the Game of Thrones podcast has done, and it's not really harmed the channel in any way at all. So I'm thinking, if that's the case, if you want to hear me talk about, general games, talk about general movies and general nerd culture and some aspects, taking your questions and things like that, then leave your comments if you're interested in that. And thanks a lot again for the support for 2,000 subscribers. This has basically been the end of the update. This has been the first one I've done since I rebooted the channel about 6-7 months ago now. I rebooted it. So yeah, it's been kind of successful from here to now, and this has kind of been going into another sort of phase, would you say? I don't know, it's kind of really just changing a little bit of stuff what I've done so far for these first 5 months. I've kind of seen what I want to change and kind of going into that. And thanks a lot for watching. Watching this update. And I'll make sure that I'll see you again in another time. I'll see you again next time on the new videos when I get back from my exams, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into it. So that's the last, just a quick reminder, I'm on hiatus until the 26th of May, and then I'll be back. So thanks a lot for watching, thanks a lot for subscribing and all the support you've given me, and I'll see you next time.